session. I would like to invite our speakers to come to the components of this panel to come and sit here on the table. That will be easier for us later. So we have already Sandra Miller, our Chief Scientist of the CGIAR. I would like to invite Vania Azevedo, the Interim Director of Genebanks and Genebank Manager of C. Welcome, Vania. Kudap Singh, the Genebank Manager of ICRISAT, if he could come. Good morning, Kudak, welcome. Namukolo Covid, the Director General Representative to Ethiopia, INURI. Steph Deham, Senior Scientist, Multifunctional Landscapes from SIP. Julian Ramirez, the Director of Climate Action for Alliance Biodiversity and CIAT. And Jaku Ku, Digital and Data Science for Research Director at the CGIAR. So So now that we have all, I would like to welcome to all, and also for the people that are online. My name is Marília Nutti. I am a senior research from Embrapa, the Brazilian Agricultural Research Corporation, and I will be the moderator of this session. I welcome to you all, and I would like to invite the guests to contribute to the word cloud by scanning the Menti QR code on the screen. So you are going to see the QR code on the screen. And I would like to ask, what is the first thing that comes in mind when you hear the word Genebank? So please scan the QR code, so it will be easy for all of us to participate in the session. So this is our Menti, or you can scan, or you can enter in the code on the web. We hope to be a very interactive section for all of us. So my first question, so just for us to try the Menti, what is the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the word Genebank? So you see, these are some of the words that we see. So please add the ones that you think are coming to your mind. We are going to use this during the session. It will be great. So we can see here. So I would like now to introduce our Sandra Milak, the CGIAR Chief Scientist since January. We had a great pleasure to have Sandra for opening our session today. And Sandra will give us some of her insights about the CGIAR new 2025-2030 research portfolio and her insights about the Genebanks. Welcome, Sandra. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome to everyone today. Good morning, good afternoon for those calling, or good evening for those calling from other parts of the world. Really my pleasure to be here today. And Genebanks are, I would say they are the treasure of humanity. It's one of the treasures of humanity, we could say, right? Because they hold biodiversity, they hold so much of what is the foundation of the work we do in many parts of food security, I would say, of food security. So today we're here to talk about Genebanks, but moreover, I think the call for action is how we keep shaping it, how we keep improving it, how we keep making more available to solve some of the big problems that we have in front of us. In CGIAR banks, they are a collection of 700,000 a section, over 3,000 plant species. It's really, really an impressive amount of samples and plant species that we have. If we have, with Genebanks, distribute over 300,000 samples to 124 countries. So, I mean, this is really helping many, many countries across the globe. And they are extremely critical for the work we do in plant breeding in germplasm. So Genebanks is our new kid in the block in the program, and I like when I give these talks to really explain how this fits together. So Genebanks are one of our newest accelerators. And of course, they are not new in terms of the work because we are sitting on 50 years of legacy of work and that many of you have contributed. But as in the program, the new 2025-2030 strategy, Genebanks are now a new accelerator. They were part of Breeding for Tomorrow, but they just moved to become an accelerator. And why this is so important is because they will accelerate many things. They will accelerate the way through this program in many, many ways. Yesterday, we were discussing about the fruit frontiers. And we're talking about, in part of the fruit frontiers and security program, we have conflict as well, areas of conflict, how we actually address food security in areas of conflict, in islands, in urban. And we're talking about how important is to preserve the biodiversity of the islands, of some of the communities. Why? Because this is so important for the culture. Food is not only about feeding ourselves, it's also culturally connected to who we are. So I think in that way, Genebanks play such an important role. They really help and will help, our ambitions that they'll continue helping to actually the communities across the world to really maintain their indigenous crops, maintain their culture in one way, right? At the same time feeding themselves. So I'm really excited for the work ahead of us. I really invite you to, as partners, and we are not alone on this. We have, of course, we are stewards of this germplasm as CGIAR. It's not ours. We actually, maintain, conserve, but we also treasure because it's so important. And we really want to make this more available. We want to make this much more readily accessible. And hopefully with digital transformation, we will get there. So we have big plans, a big ambition for Genebanks. It goes with, of course, conservation, with repatriation, very important, but we want to go beyond that. We want to make Genebanks even better. It's almost like a treasure that is sometimes is hidden someplace. We want to bring this treasure. It's our goal. We want to bring it to life and help the communities across the world with that. Thank you for your time. I would already apologize that I will have to leave because I'm involved in several events today, but I will stay as much as I can and to listen to your discussion. And I wish you a very, very good discussion and time this morning discussing with Genebanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra, for your inspirational words to us. And now we are going to watch a video about Genebanks and that are very important for us to start the session.
Without variety, without choices? How would you feel if you had to rely on the same set of clothes for every type of weather and every occasion. Or if you had to build a house without a variety of tools, materials, and skills. In the case of food systems, variety isn't just a luxury. It's fundamental to our ability to survive. As the climate changes and new pests and diseases emerge, farmers and scientists need all the options they can get. That's where we come in. We're CGIAR, the world's largest network of public agriculture research centers, and an important part of our work is running gene banks, or biodiversity centers, that preserve and share crop diversity.
We conserve it not for the sake of conservation, we conserve it first so that they become the food for this generation and also the future generation. We also do some research to understand the way they are structured, if they have some interesting gene for climate change, some interesting nutritional value, so that they can be exploited and used to respond to food security issue in the world.
Under CGIAR, there are 11 gene banks situated across the globe in diversity hotspots, and hundreds of people collaborating every day to preserve both the quality and quantity of the world's food supply. But we do so much more than just storing seeds and plants for some future disaster.
We also assure that this material can be given back to the farmers free of diseases, so they can continue conserving in situ and using this diversity that has been so important for them for the past decades and centuries, maybe.
In addition to direct use in farmers' fields, these materials can be used by scientists to develop new varieties that might answer their specific regional challenges.
This is such an underexplored and valuable resource that at the moment is not really used as broadly as it could be used.
Seeds and plant materials stored at our gene banks can be distributed to anyone who needs to use them for research, education, and breeding. Last year alone, CGIAR sent out more than 200,000 samples across the globe.
To know that we are supporting the farmers who were the first scientists who domesticated these crops, making it available for people globally to help them fight against malnutrition and hunger, it really satisfies us at the end of the day to know that we are doing the work for our species.
By supporting gene banks and exploring the solutions they offer, you can play a part in making our food systems more diverse, nutritious, and sustainable.
Thank you. We are going to display now the second Menti survey slide. So I invite you to share positive examples of collaboration with the CGIAR gene banks. So what are some of the positive collaborations you believe we have? You can just put something in your phone, some collaborations, some examples of the collaborations. Go ahead.
And ideas of new collaborations.
And particularly,
demands.
yes, the new collaborations, because you see, today we are in a gene bank acceleration session. So what we are going to do to accelerate this? So we could share that. We have some examples here. Pre-breeding to make collections useful for Micarda. We want to collaborate. African vegetation. So we have some of this. So feel free. And also I want to inform you that we will remain open throughout the session with the Menti. So we can continue sharing our ideas in the Menti during the session. I encourage you to leave your contact details so that the Gene Bank Acceleration team can follow up with you afterwards. So with no more information for us, we have one more, 1, 2. So We are continuing with do later, but now I would like to introduce Vania Azevedo, the head of the Biodiversity Program and the Genebanks at CIP, and interim director of the CGIAR Genebanks Accelerator. Please, Vania. Thank you, Sandra.
Hello.
So the floor is yours, Vania.
Thank you so much, Marilia. Do I have my presentation, please? Well, welcome everyone. I'm happy to see that more people are joining us. Hopefully we have a good and big group to discuss. We are very happy to be here today to launch the Genebanks Accelerator. You see that we have already a long history since the beginnings of the CGIAR and how relevant the Genebanks continue and the bigger role that we can play. So hopefully we can discuss a lot with the group about different expectations and roles that we can play. You are going to pass for me? All right, so the Genebanks group have been a very solid group working together as one CGIAR, as we had this expression for a few years before now. We have been working as a very solid group with very integrated activities and a work across, not just for the CGIAR, but globally. We are in total 11 Genebanks, as you saw. We mentioned in the video, these faces are the people in charge in each one of these Genebanks. Unfortunately, for now, during the accelerator, we have ICRAF as a partner, not yet part of this group. But we still continue interacting with Alice there with that Genebank. So we can clearly see that we are well positioned across the globe, each of us conserving important crops relevant to our food security. Next one, please. And these numbers are changing every day. Last count, we have more than 740,000 accessions conserved across the CGIAR Genebanks. And we have been working in gathering new diversity globally till now. There are still areas in the world where we haven't collected diversity yet. And we have been working towards having the most diverse and unique collection, avoiding duplication and assuring that this material is well conserved and available for distribution and use. And we are clearly, as Genebanks and every other Genebank mentioned, at the target 2.5 of the SDG 2, where it clearly calls for a proper ex situ conservation of genetic diversity of animals and plants. And we are answering to that with the work that we do across the centers. And if you see, we have been engaging in doing it the best way as possible. So you see that for our clonal crops like cassava, potato, sweet potato, bananas, we have been involved in developing the most modern possible protocols to assure the long-term conservation, even of these crops that are highly difficult to be conserved. And we invest in many other important standards to assure that this material will be there for the future generations. Next one, please. So as Sandra mentioned, it's always important to remember that the Genebanks do not belong to the CGIAR. This is part of the responsibility of the CGIAR with the world. These collections were put in trust with the international community, first under the Commission of Genetic Resources at FAO, and later we signed an agreement with the international treaty where this entire collection was put under the multilateral system of the treaty. It means that the material that we conserve is recognized under a specific article of the treaty, Article 15, and it says that for any research, breeding, or education for food and agriculture, this material must be made available. So this is why we have very high-level standards to follow to assure that people across the globe can receive good quality seeds and free of diseases. Mainly, we don't want to share diseases, we want to share germplasm. A few colors here. The idea is to show where we have collected germplasm over the past 50 years. In some countries more than others, but we clearly still have gaps of diversity, and we have been working on doing a specific gap analysis so we can guide the collections. When you first start a gene bank, when we did that 50 years ago, any diversity is diversity. So it was very common that big sets of materials started coming to the collections, but that become very expensive and it can be not efficient enough if you start having lots of duplicates. So this is why we need to keep evolving the way we do the research, the way we do the work, and that's where gap analysis becomes so important, so we can drive our acquisition of new germplasm to the right places where we have not collected diversity yet. And moreover, acquisition continues being a relevant topic, but also distributing, as we have said a few times. It's a bit slow, and then when it goes too fast. Yes. And we can see that almost every single country in the world has, at a certain point of time, received materials from the CGIAR gene banks. Every year, from 60 to a bit more than 100 countries do receive materials from us. And this is us fulfilling our responsibility with the global community. Where are we in the CGIAR portfolio? Well, as I said, we exist as a community, as gene bank, since the creation of the CGIAR. We have been one of the pillars of that, the reason for the existence of the CGIAR. So we have been going through all the changes and adjustments to new models of doing science, of governance, of anything we want to call. And we became a very solid group in 2012. This is linked to the creation of the Crop Trust. It is linked to the FAO, to the international treaty, and the responsibilities that we have as a community. And that's when we really more strongly joined our hands as a solid group of people working for gene banking across the CGIAR. We now, at the program, you see us there as one of the 4 accelerators. It means that we have a role to play to the portfolio, and we have a role to play interacting with the programs and other accelerators. That's why we have representatives here in our panel from some of them. And we want to hear more from them, how we can impact or accelerate more the CGIAR program. Going towards the 5 impact areas of the CGIAR. We do want to impact. Of course, biodiversity is our main impact, but not only. I didn't even start my presentation, and I have only 5 minutes. So our accelerator is organized in 5 areas of work. I will try to go through them so you can have an overview of what we are going to do, what we are planning to do. It starts with biodiversity conservation. This is our core business. To assure that those more than 700,000 accessions of more than 3,000 species are well preserved, are free of diseases, are characterized, and are available for distribution is our core business. And we have to do it following very high-level standards. These standards are defined by the Crop Trust, by the international community. Every time we report to the treaty, they might ask us to do something else. So we become more capable of tracking what we are distributing, so people can have better access to our data, or people can have better data from us, or even we can support more the national gene banks. So we have these very high level standards to reach. If you see the graph on the right, on the top right, we are all called to reach 90% of these international standards. Very simply, 3 of them. All these collections must be safety duplicated. All of them must be available for distribution. And available means legally available, physically available, free of diseases. Safety duplicated in 2 levels. We have a copy of our entire collection almost, if they are seeds in Svalbard and in another gene bank in a different country from where we are. And we can also see the graphs down there that most of what we distribute are land races. Most of what the gene banks are contributing to the world is with this unique diversity. And our biggest clients, most of our clients are outside the CGIAR. We can see the blue bars are longer, except when there are very big projects in the CG to deep characterize the gene banks. Area of work 2 is where we are going to engage more with the users. It's not working, this one here. So here we have said that we have distributed 200,000 or 300,000 accessions in the past 3 years, but we want more. We have 700,000. We have 195 countries. So there is a lot more that we can do. So this area is totally focused on engaging with the user. So this means that we need to generate more data related to traits of interest. We might be doing that mostly with bilaterals. But we need to be able to reach the user better, to use the new tools. Digital transformation is here. We have tons of data about this germplasm over the 50 years. How can our users really find what they want, what they need, by smartly having access and more efficiently having access to the data that we have? So we have been working on different ways to use AI to do data mining, to use AI to improve our phenotyping. You will see in our side event an example of a great work that IRI is doing. They were able to bring 60,000 accessions to the field to do phenotyping. We have Icarda doing a nice work in generating a portal where people can very easily have more access to our data and to our material. Then we go to area of work 3. That is where we play our role in at the international level on policy. I mentioned already the Convention on Biodiversity, the international treaty. There are many topics that are relevant, not just for the gene banks, but for the CGIAR. If we want to continue being relevant and making material available, it's important that we engage and that we influence the international policies. And here we are talking about digital sequence information, how this correlates with benefit sharing, the multilateral system itself. There is a list of crops in the Annex 1 of the treaties. Should this be expanded? What's the impact of that? How this correlates with benefit sharing? What is the role of the CGIAR in this international policy framework? Farmers' rights. We are working with farmers. We are collecting diversity from them. We are repatriating this to the farmers. So farmers' rights is also another very important topic to us. But to internalize this policy to the CGIAR scientists is also highly relevant. So it is highly important that we can interact with the scientists across the programs and assure that we are doing it right and that we are respecting and that we are calling for, including our partners, to fulfill these needs or these policies. And again, linking to distribution, as I said, we have been distributing and we want to distribute more, but we need to do it right. So here it comes a very important part of our work, which is the germplasm health. We must assure a safe movement of germplasm across the world, not just for the gene banks, but for the CGIAR. So we have a group of people in all these centers who are working together. Till last Friday, they were meeting in ICRISAT, interacting with the NPPOs from the different countries, the national agencies for phytosanitary, to really work together to improve protocols, to standardize these protocols and assure that we are moving safe material across the world. And these impacts the entire CGIAR. We have different programs that are moving germplasm across. And this group has tested about, they have done more than 1 million diagnostics just the last year for all this germplasm that the CGIAR moves around the world. And to make a correlation with the treaty has 152 countries which are part of them, are signatories of the treaty, and they all agreed to make their germplasm available through the multilateral system. The ones in the Annex 1, these are 64 crops, but currently 90% of the germplasm that is moved through this system is CGIAR germplasm, breeding and gene bank. So it is very clear that we have been answering to the demands of the world. Finally, but well, last but not least, the area of work 5 is where we also have our role with the international community. We talk in our community of gene banks across the world, more than 1,700 gene banks, that we must build a global system. We must work together. And how can we do that better? So in this area of work, we have been working in developing communities of practices, networks, organizing workshops, providing a lot of capacity building, signing agreements with national gene banks, supporting them in not just improving their protocols, but also going forward in having the material as safe as possible. So here we have 2 examples of workshops we had last year for Asia and Africa. We have communities of practice for cryopreservation in Latin America. 3 of the most important crops that we eat are clonal crops, and they are originated in Latin America: cassava, sweet potato, and potato. There is a huge diversity there that cannot be received in Svalbard for safety duplication, and that the countries are lacking support. So we have been engaging with these national systems, with national gene banks, to understand how we can do together a better conservation of this diversity. It is expensive, it is tricky, it requires sustainability in the long term, so we are well positioned to continue supporting the national gene banks. So the final message, Alessandra, please. Where we are and where we want to be. I don't want to read it all, but it's important to leave the message of where we want to be in 2030. We want, of course, our role is strengthened as global leaders for genetic resources, but as part of a community. We want to have a strengthened global system where we play a role with all the other relevant actors globally. We need to have our diversity enriched. It doesn't mean just bringing more germplasm, but also good data associated to it and accessible by the users through a digital transformation. It is clear that it's time. The tools are there. We have very good people in the CGIAR to help us drive that. And we are deeply engaged, and we want a future gene bank through digital transformation. And in policy continues and will become even more important with time, and we want to continue influencing that for the benefit of the access to the germplasm, and also for the benefit of the farmers, who are the ones who have been conserving all this diversity in situ and that have been domesticating these crops over the past thousands of years. We want to proactively engage more inside and outside the CGIAR. We need to have a stronger role, and we believe we will get there by 2030. And we want to enhance what we all do in genetic resources conservation know by theory, but that is not so easy to implement, which is the complementarity between in situ and ex situ. We have been starting here and there to do that, but we can make a big difference through the next years. And of course, with all this work, we want a strengthened global community. That is what we want to deliver. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vania. I think it's a huge challenge, but with partnerships and collaboration, we are going to get there. So now we have to start the discussion, because we need the panel discussion here is how, yes, we are going to have 2 presentations and then the discussions. But the thing is, how can the Genebanks Acceleration support accelerate the CGIAR portfolio? We are going to have some minutes for each panelist, but we will start with Kudap Singh, the gene bank manager of ICRISAT, that he will set the scene for the panel discussions for us, how the new accelerator can best help the whole of the CGIAR to deliver its objectives. Kudap, you have 5 minutes?
Yes.
So
Thank you.
I hope you can.
Well, thank you. Good morning. Then can I have the first slide? Well, thank you, Vania, for setting the stage. The treasures of humanity, what chief scientist mentioned right now, and Vanya set the stage how gene banks are conserving, but conservation will not have a meaning until and unless it's being used. So on behalf of the 11 CG gene banks, I will just go through a couple of slides that how much has been distributed and how it has impacted the agriculture and the global economy per se. If we look in last 6 decades, almost plus 9 million samples of seeds have been distributed across the world. And if you look at this particular slide, it shows how the seed has been distributed. This is an example of 2 years, how the distribution has gone from 11 gene banks to all the continents. And the primary beneficiary of this are the countries of the developing world. That's what's being shown here in this slide. Next, please. And this shows that how, if you look over years, how the distribution has changed. If we look right now, most of the germplasm goes to the non-CG partners across the world. Almost, it's more than 50%, 2/3 goes to the users in third world and then the users countries, while as 1/3 goes to the CG breeders itself. Next, please. There are hundreds of examples, well documented, where the gene banks have impacted the global economy, the global agriculture. It's not possible to really count many of them, but here I will just go through a couple of them to show you how different gene banks have really helped the global agriculture. This is one example of a gene coming from a wild species of groundnut, the accession originating from Bolivia, coming to CGIAR, Acrisia Gene Bank, and from here it getting distributed all over the world. And right now, this is the gene that is conferring resistance to late leaf spot all over the world. And one small example, impact of that one, that has been done by one of the people, some of the colleagues in India, that in 10 years' time, this particular gene, when transferred to another variety, it has contributed additional $0.2 billion, additional $0.2 billion to the farmers compared to the variety which was the landscape variety of that time. Next, please. Yeah. Some examples of the Echada gene bank. The germplasm, the landrace is the wild species of wheat which have gone from Echada to the other countries, both for basic research as well as for the applied. It's just one example how the landraces from the Echada has helped in identifying the functional alleles of one of the gene, PM3, and that has changed the concept of how to really pyramid these genes or how it could be used for improving or having this durable resistance against the powdery mildew. Insects are important ones, and 2 insects where the germplasm, both from the cultivated as well as the wild species, has contributed in imparting resistance to these 2 insects. Heat tolerance, we know, is really getting very, very important for many crops, and wheat especially. And in that case, one of the species of this Speltoides has contributed heat tolerance. Next, please. ILRI gene bank, which is the important gene bank for forage. Now, it is distributed hundreds of thousands of samples to the users around the world. But not only that, this gives an example how the direct selections from the germplasm has led to the release of a set of varieties. Those have been released in Ethiopia only. This is just one example. And the economic impact, some of the studies, it could be immeasurable sort of thing. Next, please. I will take you another example of the gene bank, which is in SIP. It's not only conserving, not only distributing the germplasm globally, but it has established a very unique relationship with the farmers in the region, ensuring that the gene bank is conserving not only potato and sweet potato, but the other roots and tubers of that region, conserving them and also making them available as and when it's required, especially when the germplasm or the varieties in the farmers' fields, they become susceptible to the viruses. The gene bank still gives the clean material to the farmers for growing them as a good crop. And in addition to that, is helping them to establish the community gene banks as well. Next one. Yep. I would take another example from Africa rice, how the germplasm from this gene bank has really helped in developing a next series of the lines, what are called the Nerica rices, which is an interspecific cross between Indica and the Glabrimas, and how it has helped in really developing a set of varieties that has changed the landscape completely. They are tolerant to diseases, they are early, they are drought tolerant, they have high protein content in that one. And in fact, many more genes, especially for the nematode resistance, which is coming from the germplasm from this gene bank, is going to really very, very useful when we are talking on direct-seeded rice across the world now. Large number of the accessions which have really contributed to those nericas are just listed here. I think that's all. I had the 5 minutes, and I don't want to take much of the time. I believe that we have set the stage for our panelists now to really let us know how and where the gene banks really need to invest for next 6 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Now, for starting our discussion, I would like to ask Steph Dehan about multifunctional landscapes that has a strong component of biodiversity conservation, focused on in situ, on farm, relating to the topics such as gender and use. The gene banks have also been in different way contributing to in situ conservation. In some centers, there is a stronger coherence and collaboration between the two. So what actions should we take to strengthen the collaboration and deliver the impact more together, avoiding overlaps? What is your opinion, Steph?
Yes, I think what was presented is highly relevant. And of course, the second wing of the bird, or the second leg of the conservation, is the in situ and on-farm conservation. No? And so that happens in certain types of landscapes. Of course, we know those places as the Vavilov centers, or the primary centers, the secondary centers of origin. And in many of the places around the world, 50 years ago, the assumption was that gene banks and improved varieties would eventually wipe out the land races. But by now we know that that is not the case. Actually, the land races are continuously evolving. And for many of the crops, gene flow and selection in the hands of indigenous communities is a constant factor. So since '94, since the Convention on Biological Diversity, the possibilities of the gene banks to collect and to access that germplasm has become less accessible. And we need to move to a different modality of working together with communities to really take the pulse of the diversity. Why can communities that work on bird diversity, coral reefs, have active monitoring of the conservation status of keystone species? And why can we not have the same for crop genetic diversity? No, maybe because initially we thought that that diversity would be wiped out. But if you look at cassava in the Amazon, if you look at rice in Laos, if you look at potato in the Andes, that evolution is continuously ongoing. So through multifunctional landscapes, we want to move and advance the target that Bania pointed out for 2030, to have a much more interactive collaboration between in situ and custodian farmers, and really make that work. And to make that work, we need 4 pillars. The first pillar is mutual backup. So the gene banks and the in situ conservation, they are mirrors. One is in a context of evolution. One is in a context that is more static, where we want to maintain true to type genotypes. But understanding that is important. The second pillar is conservation monitoring. We cannot continue to be blind and not know how the conservation status or the level of genetic erosion is in the field. No, we can use citizen science, we can use genomics. There are several tools that we can use to do on-farm and in situ comparison, and not do only genetic gap analysis based on geospatial analysis, but really do it together with the communities. The third pillar is maybe the most important one. The CG centers are part and have to contribute, and the gene banks have to contribute to farmers' rights. And how do we put those farmers' rights into action? No, it's not just sharing back germplasm. It's not just repatriation. It's much more than that. It's strengthening local communities. It's strengthening the custodians, and to work with them and empower them and give them really seed sovereignty. So working with networks of custodians, working with indigenous communities, making sure that the benefit sharing fund, which is now in cycle 5, is not the only mechanism through which farmers can have benefit sharing, is really important. So look at agrobiodiversity credits, look at payment for environmental services schemes, look at direct private benefit sharing from the companies directly to custodian farmers that are working on the crops that these companies are working on, are some of the innovations that we really have to advance. And that will also kind of help to break the deadlock that we currently have, a kind of mistrust between the communities from civil society, indigenous communities that work on in situ, and the gene bank communities. No, we have to bridge that gap, and we have to create a closer confidence. The other element which is really fascinating and where we need to advance also much more is the pillar 4 is the complementary knowledge. As soon as we put something in the gene bank, we often lose the local knowledge that's attached. Local indigenous knowledge systems, whether it's about cuisine, whether it's about resilience of the local crops, whether it's about local seed systems, are highly complementary to formal science. So to work together, for example, through educations, through schools, intergenerational dialogue, putting local ethnobotanical knowledge and the evidence behind it, like it's happening in the Periodic Table of Food initiative that is currently being implemented by the CG with Rockefeller and the American Heart Association. Those are excellent examples of how we can do cross-fertilization of local knowledge and scientific knowledge. And seed system research is an important component of that. And in the Multifunctional Landscapes program, we work, for example, in the indigenous reserve of Cumbal, in the highlands of Colombia. There is a site in Peru where there is high diversity of Amazonian fruits and also of cassava. There is one site in northern Vietnam that is a hotspot for taro, colocasia, but also a hotspot for indigenous vegetables. Here in Kenya, there is an active program that looks at African leafy vegetables. So working in those landscapes and looking at the food, energy and environmental nexus, that is where we really want to contribute and work together with the gene banks. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. Thank you very much. We hope to work together to close these gaps. Julianne, I know you have a long-term experience in working with gene banks and climate. What do you think are the gaps that we should be filling through a stronger collaboration between climate action and gene banks? Go ahead, please, and keep the 3 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, I'll try to be under the 3 minutes. Thanks, Marilia, for the question. Well, the first thing that I want everybody to realize is that climate is an imperative. Doing something about climate is an imperative, because right now we're in a trajectory where we're really committed to at least 1.5 degrees of warming, and our food systems do contribute significantly to worsening the problem. If we think about the intersection of climate action, the climate action program, CGIAR climate action program, and the gene banks, we have to think first about what these programs want to achieve, right? So climate action has 4 ambitious goals. One is supporting millions of small-scale producers to adapt to climate change. 2, reducing greenhouse gas emissions, or helping reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Informing about 100 policies, and unlocking billions in climate finance. Now, we've already seen Vanya's presentation with the goals of the gene bank, and this is a slight oversimplification, but we're talking about conservation and use of genetic diversity. So if we think about that intersection, I think there are three key areas where we can make a big difference in the world right now. The first is science to understand what is there in the collections that is useful for climate adaptation and mitigation, but also understanding what may not be there in the collections, right? So what are those gaps in the collections that need to be urgently collected, or where maybe more in situ efforts need to be in place, right? Why is this important? Because there's been several cases, as we've seen in Kuldeep's presentation, where specific parts of, even though the genetic pooling breeding programs may be relatively wide, there are specific parts of the collections that have been useful for disease resistance or for drought tolerance or for heat tolerance or salinity tolerance. Many of those are climate related traits. And so we have to make sure that diversity is there. You've seen in Vanya's presentation, there's several countries where there's no accessions. And if you go in those countries which were green in that slide, I don't know if you remember, but the ones where there are accessions, and if you go in a higher level of detail, you'll see that not all areas of diversity in those countries are collected either. So that's the first area. The second is gene bank accessions are a source of genetic diversity for really key issues. And here I want to give an example on the mitigation area. Adaptation has been explored a lot. Kuldeep showed really nice examples of a few adaptation traits. Mitigation is far less explored. There's a really interesting project currently led by the CGIAR, 3 CGIAR centers, where they're screening thousands of forage and grass accessions for their potential to reduce methane emissions in livestock. So the livestock sector, amongst all of the agricultural sources of greenhouse gas emissions, is probably the most important one. And that project can really make a big difference. And that's all tapping into the genetic resources which are in CGIAR gene banks. So mitigation is an area that we need to be working together. And the third is driving the agenda around climate resilience and nutrition. And here I want to refer to specific opportunity around neglected and underutilized species, or what's called opportunity crops. There's a number of projects and initiatives in different regions which are seeking to understand what are those opportunity crops for different countries and what is their potential in terms of nutritional value, climate resilience, and economic value. And why gene banks are important is because in many of those cases, for many of those crops, there's no breeding program. So if you want to develop production and food systems and value chains for those crops, we're going to have to tap into genetic diversity that is in gene banks. Sometimes it's CGIAR gene banks, sometimes it's other national gene banks. World Veg is also an important partner in some of these efforts. I'll stop there. Thank you. Over to you, Marilia.
Thank you, Julian. And very happy you touch up upon the nutrition, because this is something that we need to go ahead and try to integrate more with the gene banks. I'm very happy you touch upon on that. So I go to Jago about digital transformation, because digital transformation is a reality and is already integrated in many aspects of our lives. So how we can better use digital transformation for conservation? How can you talk to us about this?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks. So yeah, I'm glad to represent CGIAR Accelerator on digital transformation today. And our mandate is to accelerate CGIAR's research and innovation processes faster, better, at scale using digital tools. So we have been engaging with Genebanks since last year while we are designing this accelerator program, and we have several good ideas on how we can contribute to Genebanks operation management and conservation of seed. I wanted to just quickly go through 3 areas that we identified. The first on the data. So data standardization and interoperability of seed data, especially with breeding, like for example, passport data for breeding operations and breeding program has been identified as really important areas. So we are going to support the CGIAR research and CGIAR researchers and our partners to discover better seed and climate resilient better seed across these accessions. So there are a lot of innovations also going on to make data management more quickly, metadata development more efficiently using AI and different tools, and we will be providing support to enable that across Genebanks. The second area is more the innovation capacity and innovation capabilities across Genebank and also broadly across CGIAR programs. So we are really excited to continue supporting Genebank's management of germplasms and also operation of the Genebank data and Genebank accessions, seed distribution with partners, including NARS and seed customers in developing countries. For the management, I participated hackathon at SIP just a couple of months ago, and we saw a lot of innovations that we can quickly develop using existing data and the talent across CGIAR and also partner institutions. One of the innovation came out from the hackathon was to using computer vision and image analysis to help assess the viability of seed without really having manual and kind of eyeballing how good the seed is inside of seed vault. And I think that kind of innovation can really improve the accuracy and also efficiency of Genebank germplasm management because the human eyes and human kind of labor has limitation on how many viability check we can perform manually. So yeah, we can probably automate a lot of these labor intensive and time consuming job using AI and supported by the digital tools. Another thing on the operation, we facilitated kind of also similar process, ideation process with SIP Genebank last year to come up with a kind of prototype chatbot, AI-powered chatbot that can reduce the month of time interacting with kind of seed customer to identify what kind of seed best suited for their requirement, replacing that with just one session with chatbot, so that can reduce a lot of time going back and forth. We saw one case, extreme case, it takes 300 emails over 3 months of time to identify one single seed. The process can be simplified and accelerated using this AI tool once the data is standardized. So we want to continue identifying such opportunities, and then we will support to ideating and developing prototypes. And the last thing is the infrastructure. We have been also developing we have been facilitating a new partnership, public-private partnership with one of the cloud-based computing company to develop a CGIAR-wide federated data ecosystem. And this will also enable us, CGIAR and partners, to can analyze our data without actually moving data set from one place to another, so that we can have more kind of consolidated, coherent data analysis capacity across CGIAR. Just a couple of weeks ago, we had another workshop to identify where the most important opportunities are in CGIAR. And one of the areas we identified was a shared bioinformatics platform across CGIAR. Again, not necessarily changing anything, the way we are managing data, but we are still allowing all the partners and CGIAR researchers to just fully leverage all the data we have. So this kind of opportunities, we are going to develop the proof of concept and in some cases minimum viable products throughout this year, and we'll be we are planning to showcase some of these innovations next year's Science Week. We'll be continue supporting and identifying those areas. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And now I would like to our last speaker in this panel, Namukolo Kovic, because breeders have been the most traditional user of the gene banks. But this reality has been changing in the past years. Most of the uses of the gene bank materials are not for breeding. However, the diversity maintained in the gene banks can be highly relevant to breeding, especially of the emerging demands related to nutrition, climate adaptation, food diversity, and so on. So Namokolo, what are the steps to follow and to re-strengthen the collaboration between the two areas?
Thank you very much. I'm the kind of odd person on the panel, not being a plant breeder. I think I will take this from a perspective of diets. And specifically, I think within the context of CGIAR, let me make my comments relating to the Better Diets and Nutrition Science Program. We have taken a diet-centered approach to food systems transformation. And the idea is the fact that agriculture's direct contribution to nutrition is via people's plates, their diets. And the diversity of what we consume is an important aspect of meeting both nutrition and the health outcomes that come from nutrition. So in terms of looking at the diversity, it is very clear that the more diverse one's diet determines how likely their nutrient adequacy is actually going to be. And so when I look at gene banks, what I see is potential to improve the diet diversity of people, and by doing so, meeting their nutrient intake. However, we also know that with climate change, there has been recorded dilutions of nutrition in crops, and in the long term, that would actually impact the adequacy of diets based on those crops. So I think as breeders and as gene bank, what I would ask for from the gene banks is to look at not only the diversity of your collections, but the ability of those collections to actually contribute to addressing nutrition and diets. And then the other thing is, in terms of climate adaptation as well, we know that from crop suitability mappings with climate change, that the distribution of where crops are going to grow is actually changing. The implication for that is, where are we going and how are the gene banks keeping that as part of the collection criteria that you are using, so that as part of your collections, perhaps capturing suitability mapping also might be useful, so that as people seek to use those collections, they can actually have that information to be able to look at areas where these crops will be better suited for. Why that is important for diets is because in the locality is where people obtain a lot of their foods. My colleague talked about the vision for adapted crops and soils, VACs. And if I could divert into Africa for now, from a diets perspective, what we find on the African continent is, while across the world we need to eat more fruits and vegetables, on the African continent, if you look at consumption patterns, people do consume leafy vegetables. However, the amounts we consume are very low. But in addition, we are still consuming a lot of leafy vegetables, even from the wild. That implies, for us to augment our diet diversity, there's a lot that is already available. The question then is, to what extent our gene banks keeping that in mind as part of their collections? If I may put on my Hillary hat for a moment, as I listened to the presentation, the one thing that particularly hit me is the fact that the whole focus of our gene banks is on crops. We don't seem to do anything on conservation from a livestock perspective. I do know that historically we have gene banks for crops in CGIAR, but I also think CGIAR is well positioned to convene discussions around livestock diversity as well, because we are losing diversity there as well that requires some discussions. And I want to link that to the comment my colleague made around the gene banks being used, the feeds and forages gene banks being used to identify methane lowering compounds. If we are going to be looking at that, we need to look not only at the diversity of the forages themselves in lowering methane emissions, we also need to look at the diversity of the livestock themselves, because there are genetic material that we will be losing through the dilution towards hybrid breeds, where we may actually lose some of the momentum we could gain on that greenhouse lowering objective. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you very much for bringing the livestock subject. We are running out of time. So my suggestion will be that we will have the questions all together after the second panel. So I thank you very much for the speakers of this panel. I ask you to stay on and then I will invite the speakers of the second panel to come. So the speakers of the second panel, thank you. A big round of applause. For the second panel, I would like to invite Sarada Krishnan, the Director Program of the Crop Trust, to come to the stage. And also Desterio Nayamongo, the Senior Principal Research Officer and Director of Genetic Resources of Kauru. Abdulrazak Ibrahim, the Cluster Leader and Compact Coordinator of FARA. Okay, he couldn't make it. Marian Dockers-Quain, the Deputy Director General of CSIR. Thank you. And then Marco Woperes, the Director General of the World VAG, that here we will start. I asked him to go directly for setting the stage for us, because as we are running out of time. Thank you, Marco. And you see, the subject is so interesting that I didn't dare to stop the speakers after 3 minutes, but because it was impossible to do that because they were so important to the points that they raised. So Marco, could you set the stage for us for the second part about the partnership collaboration with the CGIAR?
Sure, I will try, definitely. First of all, it's a great pleasure to be here. Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Vanya, for having me. It's also quite a special moment for me because the first time we will publicly make an announcement about this initiative to work on a global vegetable biodiversity plan worldwide for a healthy and resilient future. Yeah? No. Okay, I just want to say a few words about the World Vegetable Center. So we have also gene banks. We have one gene bank in Taiwan with about 65,000 accessions covering 300 species. And we recently also opened a gene bank in Tanzania. We call it the Africa's Vegetable Gene Bank, and that's a growing collection. And all this is also safely backed up in Svalbard. Okay, I have somebody who works for me. That's great. Okay, that's easier. So I just want to show a little bit what we do with the gene bank. So you see here on the left that we have from Taiwan sent out about 740,000 seed samples over the years. And this has resulted in many varietal releases, probably about 1,000 varietal releases in 70 countries covering 30 crops. And on the right, you see what we do with our gene bank in Africa. We are very proactive in sending out seed samples through seed kits. About 450,000 seed samples have been shared with farmers in East Africa over the last 5 to 10 years. The impact of that we're still measuring. We have currently 7 impact studies running in Africa to look at the impact of this seed kit distribution program. Next slide, please. Yeah, vegetables. Why do we need this initiative? Obviously, they are very important for nutrition, as was mentioned before in the previous panel. But we're also worried about declining vegetable biodiversity. I think declining biodiversity is happening across plant and animal species, but for vegetables is really a concern, because if you look at what is in gene banks, perhaps between 10 and 13% of accessions in gene banks worldwide are actually vegetables, 10 to 13%, whereas there are more than 1,000 vegetable species out there, and we are losing that diversity as we speak. That is a big worry for us right now, but also for future generations. Next slide. So that's why we came up with this idea to start up a 10-year initiative to work on rescuing, conserving, and also using vegetable biodiversity around the world. And you see that we want to focus on different hotspots, 4 big regions: Africa, Asia, Latin America, and the Americas. And currently thinking about 20 hotspots in these different big regions. These 20 hotspots need to be still worked out more in detail, but for Africa, we're quite sure about 6 hotspots of vegetable biodiversity, as published in a paper by our head of genetic resources, Martin van Zonneveld. But in the next 1 or 2 months, we'll work more on the details in the other main regions. You see also that we distinguish 6 accelerators. We borrowed the term from you, Vanya. I think if I think of working with CGIAR, I think there's a lot of scope to work with the CGIAR in these different accelerators, in particular in terms of research and innovation, capacity strengthening, and policy and advocacy. And I also see a big role for the CGIAR to facilitate starting up and implementing this important initiative in the Americas. Next slide. So we had a meeting in the famous Bellagio Rockefeller Center early March with 19 thought leaders, including Sarada here, Vanya, and I think others. I've seen Dr. Masa Iwanaga in the audience, perhaps others in the audience as well who were there, where we vetted this idea, and we got an endorsement from these thought leaders to move ahead with this particular plan. It's important also to note that this is very much aligned with different initiatives like the Sun Movement, the EAT Lancet Commission, but also the VAX movement. And we talked about VAX last night. Next slide. So the vision is to rescue vegetable biodiversity before it's lost, to conserve it properly, and of course, use it. So this is really, these are the 3 fundamental pillars of this initiative: rescue, conserve, and use. Next slide. So the investment, we envision that it will cost about $300 million over 10 years. And we hope to rescue about 100 climate resilient and nutrient dense species in these 20 hotspots. So that's about 15 million per hotspot. And we think that the return on investment will be in the billions of dollars over this 10 years, perhaps even as much as $10 billion. The funding mechanisms, one important funding mechanism will be through the Global Crop Diversity Trust, through their Power of Diversity funding facility, but there will be many other ways of funding and also co-investment of different partners. For example, of course, national gene banks, private sector, national governments, etc. Next slide. That was a bit too fast, I think. Yeah. So this whole idea of rescue, conservation, and use that was endorsed by the thought leaders in the Bellagio convening comes from an initiative that started in 21, the Taiwan Africa Vegetable Initiative, where we worked in East Africa, but in particular in Eswatini, and where we sort of came up with the idea to bring together rescue, conservation, and use. So this particular initiative put a lot of effort on bringing vegetable diversity in farmers' fields through seed kit programs. We linked up to school meal programs. We created a lot of excitement about vegetables, and in particular what is now called opportunity vegetables. We developed a recipe book. We moved around the country with mobile kitchens. So we create a lot of energy there, excitement and demand. And we see that farmers that bought into this not only now provide vegetables to school meal programs, but also move now to commercial markets. So this meant that the and the Ministry of Health. Meanwhile, we are also able to rescue different accessions of vegetables there in Eswatini. If my memory is right, 1,600 accessions across about 25 species that were rescued and conserved in a gene bank that we established in Eswatini. And we also trained staff for that gene bank. So you see how rescue, conservation, and use come together in this particular initiative. And that's the type of model we want to apply in all 20 hotspots around the world. Next slide. So just a few things about what we can do with the CGIAR in terms of these accelerators. So the first one on research and innovation. This is just an example of work with the Alliance using citizen science to figure out what particular variety would work best in farmers' fields. But I think there's so much we can do together with the CGIAR to just figure out and accelerate knowledge on where particular accessions in our gene bank would fit for particular purposes. And we can think of modeling, we can think of artificial intelligence, etc. So lots of good work we can do together, of course, with national gene banks. Next slide. Yeah, so another one is, I think, capacity strengthening among ourselves, but also with our colleagues from national gene banks. On the left slide, you see, I think it's Kumar from Erie, and my good friend Venu from Erie, who came to World Veg in Taiwan to help us with a workshop training course there on saving and sharing Asian vegetable biodiversity, a good example of collaboration. And then we were also invited at SIP to join the workshop on cryo conservation. So this definitely is important and needs to continue. Next slide. And then last but not least, advocacy and policy. The CGIAR has a lot of clout. So we count on the CGIAR to help launch eventually this initiative. We are now thinking that will happen in Peru, either during the Global Crop Diversity Day organized by Crop Trust or in the FAO 11th Governing Body session that will happen there. Okay, I think I'm almost done. Yes, next slide. So yeah, we want to work with you. This is a call for action. We are very excited about this. I think for Africa, we are very far. We already have a rescue plan, Africa Rescue Plan for Vegetable Biodiversity, developed with 30 heads of gene banks in Africa. So it's very much co-owned. It was endorsed by the African Union in April 24. So we have full policy backing at the highest level to implement this plan. It was launched in Kigali. We now are hoping to accelerate this initiative in Africa, but we want to go beyond that to Asia to Latin America and eventually the Pacific. So I'm very excited about this. This is the brainchild of Martin van Zonneveld, our head of genetic resources. Fortunately, he couldn't be here, otherwise he would have given this presentation, obviously. But if you are interested, I'm there the whole week as well to discuss with you. And we have Vanya, who is our contact for the CGIAR, and we have Sarada from the Crop Trust. So we are there to discuss with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marco, for bringing us the initiative on vegetable biodiversity. It's very important. Nowadays, everybody talking about vegetables. It's very important in our diets. So thank you for bringing us. Before I start the discussion, I want to point out that we have Marion Dorcas-Quinn, the Deputy Director General of CGIAR. She's online. So she's joining us in she will be the third speaker on the discussion. Now we start a discussion about collaboration. So how we can improve the collaboration with the non-CGIAR partners and the CGIAR. So my first question is to Sarada. Sarada, what is the big role that can the CGIAR Genebanks play in collaboration with the Crop Trust in the promotion of a more sustainable and efficient global system for genetic conservation and use? Thank you.
Thank you, Mariela, and good morning, everyone. I think 2 weeks ago, the FAO Commission on Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture launched the third State of the World of Plant Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture. How many of you have seen the third State of the World report? So I think a few of you have. So I'm going to look at some of the highlights that were reported with regards to genetic resource conservation. So we currently have 6 million accessions conserved in medium and long-term storage at over 865 national, regional, and international gene banks around the world. And about 41% of the samples are safety duplicated. They were safety duplicated by the end of 2022. And this is a significant increase compared to when the report was done 10 years ago, where in 2014, when it was 15%. This is positive progress, but we still have a long way to go. There are many challenges that still remain in conservation and use of crop genetic resources. And some of the main challenges that were identified in the report are regenerating samples, because regenerating has been with a lot of the national gene banks, regeneration and multiplication. Data management is a challenge. And also many gene banks need financial as well as technical support. So I think the CGIAR gene banks are very well positioned to take on this role of building capacity of national gene banks in these areas where these gaps exist. So the gene bank, Vanya had presented the portfolio with the 5 areas of work. And all those 5 areas of work can contribute significantly for developing the capacity of national gene banks and contributing to the global gene bank system. So the Crop Trust we also participate in several projects, and we rely on the CG gene banks to assist us with implementation of many of these projects because the expertise lays with the CG gene banks. So as Vanya mentioned, since 2012, the Crop Trust has been working with the CG gene banks in ensuring that the gene banks, the CG gene banks, are meeting the FAO international standards. And we had the 5 years of CRP and the 5 years of Gene Bank Platform, 2012 to 2022. And during that time, significant gains have been made in how genetic resources are conserved and the standards in which they're conserved. And so the CG gene banks are so well positioned to use that expertise that they have gained to ensure working with collaboratively with other national partners to bring up the standards of many of those gene banks. So I think 2 main things from the previous talks. I think what we really need is, one is we need crop diversification, because with climate change and food and nutrition insecurity, diversification, and Marco made a great case with the vegetable diversity initiative, and also previously was mentioned the wax initiative, which is for underutilized opportunity crops. And so we need to ensure the crops are diversified, and we need to strengthen the gene banks that conserve these underutilized crops. So that way they also meet the international standards. So, and the safety duplication, the challenge with the safety duplication is many CG centers, based on the locations that they are, a lot of the national gene banks can use the CG centers as a first level safety duplication of the material to ensure that they are safety duplicated in perpetuity. So in addition to Svalbard, the CG centers can also serve as a site for the first level safety duplication. So in conclusion, if we do a concerted collaboratively work together, we can realize a more sustainable and efficient global system of PGRFA conservation and use. And our goal should be by the 10 years time when the next State of the World is published, that from now that we are meeting all the gaps have been addressed, and that the global system is a very efficient and sustainable global system. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarada. Thank you very much for the points raised. Abdul Zarak, I would like to ask you about the capacity sharing in a very strong component of the genetic resources conservation, from the in situ to the ex situ conservation, being a direct action to mitigate biodiversity loss. How do you think FARA and the CGIAR Genebanks Accelerator could interact better for the benefit of African biodiversity conservation? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair, and good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here and to be on this panel. So I'd like to start by saying that in FARA, for those who might not know, FARA is the Continental Apex Organization coordinating agricultural research for development on the continent. So within the different programmatic areas that we implement in FARA, I lead what we call institutional capacity and future scenarios, which also serves as the secretariat of the African Seed and Biotechnology Partnership Platform. This is a partnership platform that implements the African Union's African Seed and Biotechnology Program, a program that seeks to ensure access to quality seed to farmers, established in 2007 under the AU Decision 135. So basically, as a secretariat, we have been working with the different CG centers, including CIAT, ICRISAT, and so on. We have specific interactions and activities that are directly linked to GeneBank. So basically, I would say FARA connects continental vision, whether it is VAX or the CADAP agenda or the African Union Agenda 2063, or even Technologies for African Agricultural Transformation, a program that's currently being implemented by, funded by the African Development Bank and managed by IITA. So those continental visions, FARA connects them with policy framework and delivery system. And I would say in the context of the gene banks, there are probably 4 areas I see that we can really work together. Number one, by aligning the CGIAR gene banks with continental agenda, like I mentioned. So the African Seed and Biotechnology Program itself is a continental agenda with a set of indicators and a vision for ensuring access to quality seeds to our smallholder farmers. So we operate as working groups and clusters. So that's one way we can really advance in terms of interaction with the gene bank. And I would like to point out particularly that the program has 10 components, and among those 10 components, we have conservation and use of plant genetic resources, harmonization of seed policy, access benefit sharing mechanisms, and strengthening farmer managed seed system. So the opportunity that we have here is that genetic resources should serve the African farmers, the community, and future generations, so that the gene, their genetic resources do not just remain underutilized. The second area I would say is that we should build capacity where it really matters. So currently in FARA again, and I sit on that desk as the Capacity Development and Technology Outreach Compact leader of a program called TAT, where we go all over Africa and establish what we call innovation platform. And so the TAT program comprises of 11 commodity compacts, most of them from the CG, led by CG centers, and then 3 enabler compacts. So one of the enabler compacts is FARA, which is the Capacity Development and Technology Outreach Compact that I lead. And we do establish innovation platforms. Currently, there are over 700 of them all over the continent. So we can purpose or repurpose some of these innovation platforms to service the gene banks and vice versa, interact. And through capacity development, through training on innovation platform, we can leverage also on other programs that FARA implements. For example, we have what we call the Agriculture Research and Innovation Fellowship for Africa, ARIFA. So this program seeks to create, if you like, the new generation of agriculture research for development experts, leveraging on the South-South and triangular cooperation. I was with Vania some 2-3 weeks ago back in Embrapa, where we were discussing a new program on knowledge exchange. Fantastic work at the Embrapa Center for Genetic Resources, where I was myself trained. I was there for 5 years. And so we can leverage on that opportunity to foster knowledge exchange. Okay. Quickly, I'll just mention the last 2 points: policy, sovereignty, and equity. Perhaps if there's opportunity, I'll come back. And then finally, tapping on the power of forgotten foods and opportunity crops. And speaking of opportunity crops, we're actually within the platform, that's the ASBPP. We are having a discussion to establish a new working group just dedicated to opportunity crops with the biodiversity team. Thank you. I'll stop here.
Thank you very much for bringing up the opportunities with FARA. And now I would like to ask our colleague from Australia, Marian Quinn, if she can join us by video electronically. And I would like to ask Marian, can we have the connection, please? She's connected.
Hello? Yeah, I'm here. Do you hear me?
Oh, yes, we hear you. Thank you for being with us for such a long way. Marian, from the perspective of innovations in genetic resources conservation, how do you see the role of the CGIAR gene banks for the global community? How can we better connect with the national gene banks and be more active in regional networks for conservation? What do you think about that? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. Actually, with the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR Ghana in West Africa. So when we talk of the National Gene Bank, we represent the National Agricultural Research System in CSIR for Ghana. And we have the national presence, we have the critical mass of human resource, and we represent the hub for regional centers of excellence, and these are very critical for the CGIAR partnership. Our major challenge in delivering has been infrastructure upgrade that is needed and continuously non-availability of consumables to keep our systems running. Funding, we all know, is a big challenge, and we are all keenly competing in an ecosystem to share that national cake to sustain our germplasm conservation efforts. The experience we've had recently with the CGIAR Excellence in Breeding program in Ghana has improved and to some extent and modernized our research space. We're looking at how similar initiatives can be directed towards germplasm conservation in our gene banks, national gene banks. There should always be an eye on the breeding lines, the inbred lines, the local indigenous accessions. Improved national gene bank system can reduce the burden on the CGIAR gene banks. I look forward to a mini setup of the various CGIAR gene banks in our facilities to ensure that there's reliable duplication for that critical stock of germplasm for utilization. The NARS wants to be the local implementers of the CGIAR gene bank programs. And to do this, we need support to perform critical functions of conservation. We need free access to space, inclusion in different platforms, initiatives, inclusion in genotyping, cryopreservation, breeding networks, which would improve the local gene bank activities. We look for support for the national gene banks to identify specific traits of importance so that the conserved germplasm can be used by the breeders, geneticists, biologists, farmers. Currently, we sort of have some form of top-down transfer of technology from research through extension, the breeder delivery adoption model. This model, it fails to foresee opportunities for the farmers, the direct engagement in identifying and disseminating germplasm accessions as new varieties. So there is the need to study and support farmer seed management systems, develop the farmer skills for evaluating a wide range of varieties and building on their seed multiplication systems for dissemination to various networks. In all these, we want to partner with the CGIAR in fund raising and resource mobilization initiatives towards that collective goal of conserving germplasm for posterity. An empowered national gene bank will help the CGIAR gene bank to serve as a safety duplication site and will be less burdened for enhanced delivery. And when there is that, when we have that effective and innovative collaboration within the CGIAR and national gene banks, the full potential of crop diversity and germplasm diversity, livestock included, in the gene banks will be fully unlocked. So there is the need to have enhanced shared resources, expertise, knowledge for conservation, characterization, utilization of crop diversity. This will facilitate coordination to avoid duplication. It will reduce costs and increase the impact of crop diversity and research. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Marian, and apologies for my misunderstanding of the countries. And it's very important to have the points of the NARS, particularly from Ghana, a beautiful country. So we are going to start with the discussions, and I would like to have the questions. As we are running out of time, we will start with the questions from the people here in the audience and also the people online who send their question. So is there, and our friends from the first panel, you could answer the questions from your places, and we will have the questions here and also for Marian. So is there, I would like to ask Alessandra if it's possible, if there is any question from the audience that is here.
Currently not online, but
we'll wait a little bit. For the people in the audience, if you'd like to speak, just press button B on your microphone. Thank you.
Yes, please. Could you present yourself and do your question? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Hamidou Falalu, Krizarjin Bank. My question goes to one of plenarists regarding the digital agriculture or the use of AI. We really have or facing very difficulties to raise the funds for activities of in Genebanks. So while these AI tools are very expensive, so like if you take the example of the video meta, which can help you to do seed characterization in few time and for a lot of accessions, but it's so expensive. So what is the strategy to handle this gap, to deal with this gap when we want to use AI, but the tools are really so expensive? Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for the question. Yeah, that's really important factor. But when we also look at the cost, it's not just kind of monetary investment, it's also time. So I think if you look at how much time we can save and also how much accuracy we can add to the system by using AI tool. And we are also not imagining something completely replaced by human. It's more for kind of supporting human and supporting researchers' time to make this work more efficient. So there are a lot of different factors to consider. And there are also lots of open source tools. So the cost of these applying AI and digital tools has been rapidly decreasing. So I think we can find a sweet spot of leveraging all the tools and technologies available to us while not necessarily adding too much burden on the financial aspect.
Thank you. Another question from the audience?
I have a question to Marco, actually. Well, you presented already a good opportunity for better interaction and collaboration between the CGIAR and World Veg on a very specific and type of collaboration on vegetables. Thinking broader on our global responsibility as international gene banks, World Veg and the CGIAR, we have that global and international role. What else do you think we should be doing? What would be some steps for us to engage more and fulfill this role in connecting better with NARS from the international level, building together this global system for conservation?
Well, thank you very much for that question. Yeah, I think indeed World Veg, if you look at World Veg gene banks, it's very similar compared to the CGIAR. So we are audited by the Crop Trust sitting here. We receive also some long-term funding from the Crop Trust for Tanzania Gene Bank. We use the quality and risk management system developed by the CGIAR. We send out our samples through SMTA, so many things that are similar. So yeah, what could we do more? Well, first of all, I think we are a clear partner of the accelerator, but I would love to see us even better integrated and becomes, I lost count, the 11th or 12th gene bank in the accelerator, a sort of CGIAR plus family. I think that would be extremely beneficial. I count a lot on the CGIAR to help us move with the initiative. We're going to do an aggressive fundraising campaign with the Crop Trust. I see a role for, as I said, the CGIAR in the Americas to facilitate starting up and very much working together in 3 of the accelerators, research and innovation, capacity strengthening, and also policy and advocacy. But I think the most important thing, and it was also mentioned by one of the previous speakers, Marianne, who zoomed in, is national gene banks. So we have a tremendous problem with infrastructure at the national gene bank level, also capacity. We really need to address that. And actually, everything World Veg does is with national gene banks. The Africa Rescue Plan was developed by 30 heads of national gene banks. So this, I think, if you think of a global system, is essential. And I'm also very happy that the Crop Trust also pays a lot of attention to strengthening the capacity of the national gene bank. So a global system can only work when you integrate national gene banks and international gene banks. And some of these national gene banks can actually play a regional role. If you think, for example, of the Calavi gene bank in Benin, they are incredibly strong. This gene bank can easily serve as a regional gene bank for, I'm looking at FARA, the Koraf region, in particular for vegetables. So we have to really think like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco. We have two other questions from the audience. So first of the guy with the glasses, because I don't know your name, and after the second. Thank you.
The guy with the glasses is probably me.
Yes.
My name is Michael Baum. I'm from ICADA. And I have not really heard much about the use of, we heard a lot about conservation, but not so much of use of plant genetic resources. In my life as a breeder, I have seen actually very much a reduction of the use of interspecific hybridization and intergeneric hybridization. And of course, we have heard in the introductory presentation, actually the amount of genetic diversity being used in the breeding programs is rather limited. There are a lot of new technologies that make it probably much easier to make use of genetic resources, just as genome editing, in order to modify allele diversity within its species based on the information that we have from wild relatives. And but I have not really heard much about use. Lots of work on conservation, but the use module is, I have seen that over years, is not very well empowered. Can we hear a little bit more? Yeah, what is the thinking? What are the possibilities here?
Before I give to Vanya to answer, I would like to get a second question so we save time. We have a question from the lady and then we answer both because we are really running out of time. And I apologize because I didn't see her. But could you ask the second question and then we answer both?
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Soumya Swaminathan from the MS Swaminathan Research Foundation. And my question, I guess, is a little bit related to the previous one. It's about the use, but also about collaboration with community seed banks. And how best can the CG system work with the national gene banks and with community seed banks? Because I think unless we strengthen those, we're not going to really complete, the circle. And ultimately, we need to see that the impact is on those communities, on the smallholder farmers in particular. And they are right now conserving seeds that, against all odds, there's really not a great deal of support, at least what I see in India and probably in many other countries. So how can we strengthen the whole loop there?
Thank you for the very important questions because during the whole session, we heard a lot about supporting the farmers. So if we really need to point out here how we are going to do that with the small ones. So Vanya, could you start?
Thank you, Marilia. Yeah, these are two very important topics, absolutely. We always say that we don't want to conserve museums. We want the gene banks to be useful. We started it 50 years ago saying that this was for the future. The future is already now, and we really want it to be used. We use it as much as we can when we can have bilateral projects where we can really evaluate this germplasm to generate better data for the users, but we really need to do that better together. And that was the whole idea of bringing the programs. We tried to have reading for tomorrow in our session. Everybody is extremely busy with lots of side events and meetings. But of course that the idea of having multifunctional landscapes, nutrition, digital transformation, many of the CGIAR programs is really to show that there is some collaboration there that promotes the use in different levels. Colleagues and programs, research areas that use the germplasm itself, but also that helps us connect with the users. And that is a lot what we are really focusing for the future. We have almost reached all our international standards, and we really are looking forward to use more. But for that, we need the users to connect better with us. And that is really what we want. And we are finding the best mechanism to promote that better integration. Kuldeep presented 5 great impacts of the gene bank. These were very local and specific user cases, but we have hundreds of those that we really need to be able to showcase better so people can better understand that the gene banks are being used. Regarding community seed banks, this is a very strong area of connection with multifunctional landscapes. So Stefan kind of touched a little bit on this type of work directly with farmers. It is also part of the policy discussions that we are engaged in on the direct use of the gene banks, not only through repatriation to the small farm holders because we collected the material from them and we must make it available back to them without any cost or restriction, but we want them to do much more than that and not only receive back their diversity, but to somehow improve their livelihoods. And that can be through empowering them to being able to conserve their diversity in situ. So they are not completely dependent on us for the rest of their lives. We want them to be empowered, but we also want to assure at the same time that we are here, and whenever they lose these materials, they can get it back from us. So not only community seed banks, but really in different levels, we can support farmers to continue producing this huge diversity that they have there and make that diversity get to the people, to the cities. And it's amazing. There is an example in Peru, we can talk later in more detail, but that we can really scale to other countries to really raise awareness of the communities in the cities. That it's very easy to go to a supermarket and buy something, but they don't know how much work the farmers are doing there in the back to assure that we have food, and we can support them in many different ways. Yes, thank you.
Sarata wants to complement, and we are going to get the question, but just
to respond to Michael's question, Michael, I think the use is always related to data. If the data is not available, then the users do not know where to look for material. So that's why the Genesis, the gene bank information system that we have, Genesis, we encourage all national gene banks. We provide training in data management and ensuring that the data gets into Genesis. So that way everybody can, any user can go to Genesis and look at what the gene bank holds. And also with CGIAR, we've been working on a subsetting tool. We have a subsetting tool based on geographic location where they come from. So then for climate adaptation, you can, based on the geographic locations where the collections were made, you can make informed decisions as user. So I think data management, that is one of the gaps in the FAO report also, data management. And so that's where we are also building capacity.
Thank you. We are still getting some questions from the audience, but Ismahan wanted to say a few words because she has to leave, but we will continue with the questions and answers after her. So I saw you, I see you, so we are going to do this after her, okay? Thank you.
First, apologies for cutting this great discussion. I want to just, I think the subjects I heard just in the few minutes I was here were really along the lines of what I heard and what I know and the value of the gene bank. So I want to just share with you that for us as CGIAR, part of our mandate is safeguarding the diversity. in the plant kingdom. We don't have it in other kingdom, but the plant one yet. Yes, and that's why we have a ring fencing funding for the gene banks. But we know we can do much more. And we know we have to do much more with gene banks. With the problems we have, it's not gene mining, it's really new criteria of adaptation to climate change that we need to go and bring from those gene banks. And we need to diversify. And that diversification right now can happen only if we use properly our gene banks. And as you said, data is very important. So we need really to understand what we have. We need to continue conserving. We didn't have many collections for many, many years. So I think really we need the time of Vavilov to come back, that people go and collect and bring and conserve those genetic resources. On local, your question, Soumya, on local, and your comment also, Marco, on community seed banks, national seed banks. In Africa, for example, there are very few. Many countries and islands have no gene banks, no seed banks, and they know that they are losing their biodiversity. So I think that's a very important point, that we need to look how we can really help communities, national system to have their seed bank. I know that you did one very recently in Mozambique. Bravo, is it Mozambique? Tanzania, in Tanzania. So we need to do those, because sincerely with the climate change, we will need to go back to those seed banks, and we need to use them properly. And I saw in Peru, you mentioned Vanya in Peru. In Peru, it's amazing. If you are in Lima, go to the local market. You will see that the farmers are conserving the potatoes and sweet potatoes in such a wonderful way. I mean, I saw diversity in the gene bank of the SIP, but I saw as much of it in the market with the farmers. And that's really beautiful. And that's what we need to push for. So for us, the gene bank, we put it as an accelerator because we think it holds a lot of potential for all the other science programs, for the Breeding for Tomorrow, for the nutrition, for the climate action, for all of them without any exceptions. And I see here we have a very strong community that has really high standards, that want to do more. So the plea for you, it's yes, please engage. Let's do more together. Let's collect, let's conserve locally, community level, global level. And let's really make sure that we also, with conserving, we are using it for today, for the breeding, for the material that we need today, the nutrition we need today, the adaptation we need today, but also for the future. And for this, we need really to be ambitious. We need to harness new technologies. And above all, we need really to collaborate as CGIAR with all partners. Sometimes I know you feel like you are in a family, you know each other. So please go and bring other people, because I remember I did my PhD in wheat, in durum wheat. By the end of my PhD, I knew everybody that worked in durum wheat worldwide. So what we need to do is get and kind of bring the others that maybe they are not part of this community. The community is strong, but we need to expand it much more. So the new portfolio gives us an opportunity to deliver on that vision and to open the doors of the gene bank to a wider range of users for new purposes. We hope this session has given you some inspiration. I know you don't need it. You are already strong and you are very ambitious, and how we can contribute and how we can help to deliver on your goals. If you want to dive deeper, the colleague told me to make sure to mention that we have a session on Thursday morning at 10:30. Another fantastic group of speakers will discuss innovation like AI, cryopreservation, as well as practical ways to drive collaboration in the global gene bank system. And before I give you my last thought, which I like very much, is that I want to just give one example. Like, we think that rice, we have done it all in rice. We have been working on rice for almost 60 years. And yes, CGIAR is behind most of the rice varieties, but a program I saw in Erie really showed me that there is always potential to do more. A young scientist, Nessie, got a grant from Google Research. And with that grant, what he did, he'd scan the whole gene bank of the rice in Erie. And the purpose was to look for certain antioxidant. So he used photography, he used AI, he used different tools, and he found 800 lines, or let's say accessions in the rice that has the criteria that he was looking for. He planted them, 200 did not germinate. That means we lost those 200 unless we have a duplication somewhere else. 600 germinated, and then he started his analysis to look at the biomolecules in those 600. And by the end, he found an antioxidant that they published already that is anti-cancer. And they are trying it with hospitals, lung cancer, colon cancer, and another third cancer, right? Breast cancer. So look, although we have been working with the gene bank for so long, but using the new technology save us work that he needed to do over 10 years, he did it in 2 years. Instead of planting all the gene bank, and there are about 83,000 accession in the gene bank. Don't quote me, I don't know the number exactly, but he used technology to reduce it down to 800. But the other lesson, we lost 200. What are in those 200 that we would never have back? So for me, really, those little things, and also it's $2 million that he did all of this. So it's not always that you need a lot of money to make a breakthrough. So it's not always that you have to have those big ideas to have a breakthrough. So we need really to combine the science, the passion, and the local knowledge and the knowledge that has been ancestral. So if we are able to bring these things together, I think we can do a lot of breakthroughs, and we need those breakthroughs given the situation where we are. So a final thought, the resources in the CGIAR Gene Bank represent a big part of our shared agricultural heritage. They exist thanks to the hard work of farmers, breeders, and researchers over centuries. We have a duty to build on their efforts and to unlock the full potential of these treasures. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sorry for leaving. Thank you. Oh, I am very grateful with the last example from Ismahan because I work with nutrition. So my dream is that with the gene banks, we will be also analyzing the nutritional parts, as not only the minerals and vitamins, but also the bioactive compounds. So this touched my heart. Thank you very much. So we continue with the questions and answers. So we have you first, and then after the lady. But please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. As I appreciate that first you give a chance with a guy with a glass, and again, you give another guy with a glass. Thank you very much. A very simple question. As people in agriculture, we see the genetic resources and crop diversity is a vital foundation for people in agriculture to work with. My question is, CGIAR as an international organization, particularly in science research for genetic resources, with the largest collection globally for the agriculture resources, is there any initiatives or ideas for future to develop sort of guidelines for the management of the gene banks and also for the governance of the transfer of genetic resources to facilitate international collaboration in agriculture research? So that can lay a foundation for a better life for breeding for tomorrow. So I just want to ask, is there any ideas or initiatives to be developed in the future, just like the SPS agreements or the sort of codex for food security that provided baseline guidance for different national gene banks or community gene banks to conserve their genetic resources and also facilitate the international exchange of genetic materials. Thank you.
Before I pass to Vanya, I just want to thank you to point out the codex, because I see I have been working in the codexes in the last 30 years, and it's a huge advantage for the food. So if we could have something similar for the gene banks, I think it would be wonderful. It's a very great example. So Vanya, could you help us, please?
Yeah, I can try. I'm not aware of these initiatives, but At the gene bank level, there is a strong work being driven by the Crop Trust, where the CGIAR collaborates, because it is, well, we have a global role to support better the national gene banks and help them reach the minimum standards for a proper conservation in the long term. It is more common than we believe that when we try to access germplasm, they are not alive anymore. That happens a lot in many, especially in the smaller gene banks with less support. So we need to be very strategic and practical in finding the minimum standards and implementing them with the gene banks for this material to be properly conserved. At the international level, we have bigger responsibilities. So in many aspects, our gene banks become much more complex. But we can do it in a very efficient way with the national gene banks to support them in the longer term. There are, of course, in relation to making this material available, there are lots of the policy behind it, right? There is the international treaty, there is the rules of making this material available for free, but by saying that it should be made available for free doesn't mean without responsibility. And that is why we do work strongly on the policy aspect, bringing the awareness, not only to our CGIAR scientists, but also at the national level, when engaging with the countries, the understanding of what does it mean that I am a signatory of the treaty? What does it mean to sign an SMTA? How is this safeguarding the sovereignty of the country over their genetic resources? But it is also supporting the development of food, because that is what we are answering. So there is a movement also. I know that the gene bank at the Netherlands, at Wageningen, they are very strong, and they have been working closely with the Crop Trust and currently more with the CGIAR to establish these standards as a way for us to really support the gene banks, but also maintain the sustainability and the recognition of the work that they are doing. Because by doing this, it is also a way that we can support bringing more funds for this conservation in the long term. So this is what we have been trying to do at our level, and I am sure that we can do much more and engage many more partners for this action to be successful. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have one last question but before that, I want to say that after the question, we want to have a group photo of everybody here in the front. So when we close the session, I would like to invite everybody to the front for us to have a group photo, everybody that wants to join us for the group photo. And then when we close, there is a coffee break outside for all. And don't forget to visit our booth of the gene banks that is in the beginning of, when just you arrive here, it will be the first booth that there are some, I have another one here, and you, please, you need to understand me that people want us to leave the room, but I will get both questions together, then we close. So you first and you. Thank you very much.
Good morning. My name is Alphonse Kikwete, a student from the University of Nairobi. My question is, how are the services being harmonized and procedures standardized across different regions and gene bank centers? What are the challenges in achieving this harmonization? And what kinds of enhanced information storage analysis is being implemented, and how does it improve the usability of germplasm data? Thank you.
Thank you. And you, lady, please, both questions.
Thank you very much. My name is Habiba Asami from Kenya. And yesterday I had one of the Wise Council panelists talking about the good thing that science has brought on board. And one of the issues that it brought forward was the new seeds. So my question is, with the new seeds, how is it supporting sustainability? Sorry, it's something that I've been battling with for some time, because I'm coming from a place where when we were growing up, we used to use the traditional for example, for the maize, where we could replant it. My grandmother would replant it over and over, and it would feed her household and the community at large in totality. But with the new seeds, we cannot replant it. Once you plant, you harvest, you have to go get new seeds, buy new seeds. So my question is, how is that supporting sustainability? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Before we start answer, I understand that when you talk about new seeds, we have two ways of understanding. We can understand that we have the conventional breeded seeds, that the genetical conventional seeds, but also the GM seeds, that the genetically modified seeds. So we have different treatments because there are times that we can save the seeds and replant again, and other times that we need to buy the new ones. So it depends on the seed. So this is that we, of course, when we think on the security, I answer that directly because this is something that I am dealing with the last 20 years in Brazil, because within the biofortification program, we do conventional breeding, we have new seeds, but the farmers can keep the seeds and use it again. So we want them to test what are the ones they like more, the traditional ones or the ones that are bred, but conventional breeding. And we have also some of new breeders that we can use. So I think the first thing we need to think is to make sure the differences there are in the conservation of these seeds. Okay, for your question, I will, for the other question, I will give to Vanya, because I think for him or Sarata, both of you can answer him.
Okay, I can.
Go, Sarata.
I think with regards to the harmonization, we do have the FAO Genebank standards and practical guides, and that is what we follow for harmonization of workflow within a gene bank itself, so that way it's standardized. But each individual gene bank is going to be different. So the Crop Trust works directly with when we work with national partners in developing a quality management system and in helping them develop standard operating procedures for the gene banks. So that way it leads to developing going towards international standards. So that is, and then I know that with the CG, and we are also looking at developing, offering online classes. And there is the Seed Quality Management SQM course that the CGIAR will be offering soon. So that way, for regeneration, conservation, what are the highest standards for seed quality? So that is something through online courses, and you can gain more information about that. And then back about the seeds, one of the things about gene banks is also to conserve as many land races as possible. So that is where the diversity is conserved in gene banks, which is accessible to farmers. So in one of our projects, the Seeds for Resilience project, working in 5 countries in Africa, we offered from the gene banks, the conserved land races from gene banks were offered to farmers through farmer trials, that the farmers could come and select based on previous experiences, some of them that had been lost in farmers' fields. They were able to come and select some of those land races and grow them. And so we have an impact study that will be coming shortly on that work. So yeah, but that is the whole importance of gene banks, is it is not the improved varieties that are conserved in gene banks, but the land races of farmers. So that way that genetic diversity is not lost and available to farmers.
Thank you.
If I can comment briefly, both points. So following up on what Sharada said, there is space for everything. We have different science programs developing commercial varieties, and we have private sector. We have all these seeds that you cannot plant again. But that shouldn't be the only way, and we have learned that throughout the years. And this is why the gene banks become even more important, because many times the diversity that was there in situ or on farm have been substituted. And we have cases when farmers said, that's not what we want. I heard many times, a few times, farmers saying that seeds are not money, seeds are life. It's part of their heritage. So we must assure that this diversity can be given back. And this has been our role as our role number one, is to assure that this diversity is still there to be reintroduced. And we are talking about diversified foods. We are going through a completely different route from the only 6 crops that we eat globally. We need much more than that. And even within these crops, we need more diversity. So that is why we have, like Marco showed, the seed kits. Ikrisat is doing that in Niger. We are trying to do, we have a strong work with farmers in Peru, repatriating these materials, this diversity back to them so they don't become completely dependent. We need that diversity as well as we need a lot of food being produced because we are almost 8 billion people. So that we need to assure the balance, and that is our main role, that the diversity is still there. And regarding harmonization, of course, that there is all this work, Sharada said, we have quality management, we have standards to follow, but we have also ways that we need to, we have work to do on harmonizing our data, especially if we want to promote a digital transformation. We need our data to be AI ready, and if it is not well documented or harmonized among the gene banks, even outside the CGIAR, the new tools will not be able to go into our data. So that is also highly relevant as a different step, as another step. We need to assure that the standards are followed, that we are supporting the national gene banks, that we are harmonized among ourselves, but we need to go further now. We have new technologies that can help us impact more. So that's also another reason for that harmonization that needs to go beyond the CGIAR gene banks for sure. Thank you.
Okay, I would like to thank you, everybody. And just to say, what are the words we most listen today? So I think we need to leave this room thinking that it was collaboration. It was, we need to serve and preservation. I think if I can point the 3 things that I heard most, I think that we should point out this, but we also need to think that we need to preserve and have everything safe for distribute and safe for consumption afterwards. So with these thoughts in mind, I would like to close the session and invite everybody for the picture here in the front. Thank you very much.
Very good morning to you all, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to day 2. A very good morning to you all, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to day 2 of Science Week. I hope you all had a lovely evening. We'll be beginning our first plenary in a little short while, so please find your seats. Please find your seats, and we'll be starting very shortly. Two, 1, 2.
Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. 1. Unknown. This one. Check 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. Check. Check. Kitu kwani vile imeenda time tumecheki kitu. 1, 2. Check. 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Something wrong with these mics. Bye. Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Yes, 1, 2.
2, 2, 1. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Jeff.
1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 2, 2.
Gani sasa?
1, 2.
Okay.
2.
Sawa, yuko sawa? Na wewe uko sawa pale? Okay.
1, 2, 1, 2. 2, 2. 2, 1. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. 2, 2. 1, 2. 2. Slow. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mix.
We going with this?
Whichever one is louder. I mean, this. I can't hear it. I mean, switch it on. Two, 2. 1, 2. 2, 2, 1. Morning. 1, 2, 1, 2. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2. Better? Enda huko nyuma uniambie kama unaweza nipata. Nyuma. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2. 2, 2, 1, 2. 2, 2. 1, 2. 2. 2, 2, 2, 1. 1, 2, 2, 1. 1, 2. 1, 2. 2, 1. 1, 2. 2. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call this room to order. Please take your seats as we begin plenary session number 2. Please take your seats. Just like to let you know that the overflow rooms are in conference room 1 and 3. In case you don't have any space in here, overflow rooms are conference room 1 and 3. In the meantime, Her Excellency, Dr. Amina Gurib Fakim, former President of Mauritius. His Excellency Mohamed Bivogui, former Prime Minister, Republic of Guinea. His Excellency Dr. Ibrahim Mayaki,